Here at LKL, our top priority has always been the physical health and safety of our people on farm, but also their mental well-being. As part of a wider wellbeing project, we've teamed up with Galantium, a specialist organisation within agriculture who provide video resources to farmers and those who work on farm. In a series of videos coming over the next few months, we'll discuss various topics with various resources and tools to help us have better mental well-being. And LKL's Michelle Geel and James Pico went along to meet Andrew Greener of Galantium to discuss the project and why we are so focused on it.
So it's great to be at this farm in Wiltshire to finally meet Andrew Greener from Galantium to talk about a joint project we're doing with him and LKL about mental health and wellness for farmers and the farming community. And I know that fits very well with all the work we've been doing about health and safety and wellness, and also the training you've been doing on M&S farms. When did you last do some training?
Well, I did revisit an M&S farm because they wanted to sort of refresh their farm safety awareness. So they'd have some new team members, and just to sort of to refresh it with the with the sort of existing one. So that was back in January. But that work has sort of been going on for some time, along with your involvement. But when I look back, so 25 years I've worked for LKL now. And when I started, it was purely recruitment. And there was less farms, but there was more movement of people. There was more people applying for jobs. It was really sort of recruitment, and the training sort of came into it a little bit as we sort of went on over the years with sort of farm machinery, sort of more evident on farms, I suppose, and I think there was sort of probably. Along with what you're doing, I think sort of the legal framework that people sort of respected, they had to sort of work within. That sort of became more sort of prominent as well. So I started doing on-farm training with for various bits of machinery, quad bikes and UTVs and telehandlers, and then it sort of branched out into sort of farm safety, and I suppose sort of within that the whole sort of wellness and well-being of people, that sort of grew out of it a little bit, and through that the role that we play as regional managers, that changed into sort of more about retention than recruitment and looking after people doing their jobs. And I think that I sort of I'm very aware that what has happened in recent, fairly recently and over recent months is there's a lot of publicity about the hardship of farming. But I think we have to be sort of very conscious about the people that are doing the job. They're on the front line. They are the ones faced with the initial challenge. So I went to a farm yesterday, and the herd manager there, an experienced man who's been in that position for sort of 5 years, and their milk contract is sort of changing. There's a new sort of layer of standards that's sort of coming in and I think it's sort of the milk purchasers feel able to sort of put pressure on to wheel out their farms, but there's this sort of fresh layer coming in of standards, and I could tell that he was quite anxious about meeting those requirements and the financial impact on the farm if he doesn't meet those standards. So that's why I think that there is that sort of responsibility and understanding amongst people working on farms now about their security, the responsibility they have for the business they're working on, and I think that is it's important that we sort of understand the pressure that puts on people, and we're there to sort of support them with, you know, with training, but and with just sort of a presence, but also able to sort of add some guidance and and the work with Andrew, some you know, some sort of understanding and inspiration from examples of people that have found a way through their challenges. So
well, it's very much recognised, isn't it, that farming is a very sort of unique way of life, and so many factors mean that you know, like the weather and milk prices and things that, you know, they can't control, and they're often working, you know, exceptionally long days in quite a lot of isolation. So
that's right.
It can be very sort of challenging.
Yes, but you know, sometimes I think that you know, they sort of say finds a way of life, and that's quite like a romantic. But it isn't. It is commitment. You know? But the commitment is very much, you know, the frontline troops who are doing the job, who are handling the cows and, you know, milking them, and you know, and sort of trying to, you know, sort of maintain that consistency of what they're doing in those sort of changing, you know, conditions, or you know, that these cows are going to start sort of they have started calving
now,
and you know, they'll calve at midnight, and someone's going to be here in the you know, looking after them in you know, in sort of, you know, good conditions, but that is sort of quite a challenging environment to work in, really, and to keep that sort of standard of, you know, it's all about that animal welfare that is so important, and you know, that I suppose that the better shape you're in, the better you're able to look after, you know, the animals under your care, really. So,
well, I mean, there's quite a lot of open conversations about health and safety on farm, but I know there's quite a lot of reluctance to talk about your own sort of welfare and well-being on farm. And, you know, there's so much that is now being shown that it goes hand in hand. If you're not looking after your own physical well-being and in the right place in your mind, then, you know, things start sort of falling away, and you're not eating properly, or you're not sleeping properly, you know, and it means that, you know, if you're not in the sort of good place, then you might be sort of taking risks, or, you know, letting things slip, and, you know, then your own welfare and the herd's welfare could sort of suffer, and also the farm profitability as well.
Absolutely,
too,
so, and I'm very aware that, you know, it is for yourself, but also you know, sort of your ability to sort of understand where your colleagues might be as well. Because if you,
I mean, you've had situations where you've had people that you've spoken to who've recognised that one of their colleagues on farm doesn't seem to be quite in the right sort of in their, you know, right mind, or not in their normal behaviours, and sort of showing different behaviours. So
and the key is how they sort of reacted to that, because you know, I've got my sort of my you know, sort of point is that if you physically hurt yourself, then that's very easy for someone to see. If I cut my arm, you'll know what's the matter. You'll see it, and it really doesn't matter. You know, you could be in the filthiest mood, but you still would, you know, sort of put a plaster on. You might slap it on a bit hard, but you know, you put a plaster on there. But if someone is sort of in terms of their welfare and well-being is not in a good place, that isn't quite so easy to detect. And you know, the examples I've seen is where someone has sort of noticed something is someone's just not sort of where they would normally be, and they've had the presence of mind not to be a counsellor, but just to get that person off in the right, you know, sort of direction for a bit of help.
It's about asking the right questions, isn't it? And not sort of taking no for an answer. Just keep on sort of checking in on them, and
being able to put yourself sort of, you know, not let your own sort of, you know, anxiety or urgency sort of mean you ignore it. That you do something, you know, about it. But it is harder to sort of detect and to just do that sort of initial help if it's someone's well-being, as opposed to if they sort of physically injured themselves.
Yeah.
So,
and do you think it's the nature of dairy farming that people end up feeling that they don't necessarily want to ask for help or speak to people? I've sort of heard it say that communities can be very sort of joined up, but also quite isolating. So you might work in isolation, but you might not necessarily want to talk to somebody about it because everybody knows what everybody's doing in the community, if you see what I mean. So that, I think that could potentially be a sort of challenge. So this is where I think the videos that we're going to be sort of showcasing might help, because people will be able to look at them sort of freely as an educational sort of resource at any time, if they don't feel that they can speak to their sort of friends, family or colleagues about things.
I agree, and I think what Andrew Green has put together, it is about sort of inspiring, and it's also sort of illustrating positive outcomes.
Yes,
and I think that I think you're right about people not sort of how to sort of deal with the situation themselves, but I think some of that is that they're caring for the cows, and I think their own position can sort of potentially could deteriorate because their priority we are an industry who sort of get the job done almost regardless of the sort of the environment. You don't sort of say, well, I won't milk them this afternoon because it's cold. It's going to happen, and so that unconditional sort of part of doing the job, I think that can that can sort of mean that things can sort of creep up on you as to how you are. But I do come back to the fact that the people doing the job on the front line, they mustn't be sort of overlooked in terms of people's welfare, because they are the ones doing the sort of the work. And I would also say that, and we were sort of talking about this farm with the expansion, it's been that units have got bigger, and it is there is possibly in some instances a case where the person who runs the business isn't actually directly connected with the practicalities. And if you're a little way from the practicalities, you might not really sort of fully appreciate that today, sort of routine, unconditional, work that's got to be done. Because, and for sure, I understand you've got a lot of worries if you're running a big business. I absolutely understand that. But it is the people.
It's always
on
a
the
knock-on effect, isn't it?
Yeah. So I think it'd be really interesting to get involved with Andrew. And the other thing that I remember sort of talking to you is that previously is that we are moving into more of a sort of a caring role, and I think Andrew's work is the perfect platform to sort of formalise some structure about what we're actually doing. And I hope that it will, sort of encourage people to use LKL, to the utmost, to help with their sort of, working time.
Well, and also for the work that we've done on health and safety as well. We know that obviously if you're in a sort of poor sort of mental health state, then you don't look after yourself, you're more likely to take risks and not sort of
reaction prone,
and not sort of think about some of the jobs that you're doing, and more likely to have the sort of accident. So the whole thing sort of works sort of in tandem.
And there is a legal framework, which is obviously that's been your sort of expertise and your background to make sure that we as an industry we've got to move with the times and respect. There is a legal framework, and that is kind of non-negotiable. Really, it isn't. Well, do you want to do it or not? And I think if everyone sort of respects the legal framework, they're naturally going to be more cautious with what they're doing, and and the sort of the accident rate would, you know, would be nice to see that, you know, lower. So so I think it would be, you know, it would be really interesting to see what Andrew's got to say. And I know that, you know, George has been happy to get involved in this, so that you know, he they're going to move away from us now. So you know, because I think it's important that you know, George is 100% behind this, and you know, he's also been he's been in the company, you know, longer than I have. So you know, he's seen all those changes as well. So it'll be, you know, I think it's a great thing, and it does come at a good time for LKL as well.
Yeah, excellent. So shall we go and
let's go and find them? Yeah.
Talk to Andrew a bit more about how he started off with the project. So, Andrew, could you tell us a little bit about Galantium and your new project, which is mental health for farmers and the farming community?
Well, the project we're working on is designed to help farmers who struggle with their mental health or well-being. There are a lot of charities, there's a lot of support for farmers out there, which is really good. So I think the FCN, Rabi, so on. They all say the big problem is finding people to come to them in the first place, getting people to open up, getting them to talk about problems they have. A lot of farmers are working in isolation on farms on their own, and encourage them to talk is really difficult. So the idea of our project is all about video case studies where we look at farmers who have had struggles and hopefully have popped out the other side of that. Not always, it's not like there's a cure that it always finishes, but they learn how to cope. So whether it's depression, isolation, the financial worries, there are ways that you can sort of live with those concerns, and talking about it is always the solution. So the project that we're working on is all about getting people to talk in a nutshell. Actually, we've got quite a lot of talking going on at the moment.
That's a heckler.
That's a heckler.
and we're keen to support it and recognising that it's not just farmers, it's the pressures of the industry feed down on the people on the ground doing the work as well, and they're not immune from that. We've had some difficult years with drought and milk price and one thing and another. There's always challenges, and I think recognising that affects the whole team on farm is also important, and encouraging people to talk and be there, be they the farmer or some of the staff that work there is an important thing, and that's why we want to be involved in supporting this as well from our perspective with LKL.
We've seen those industry pressures filter down to the people you know doing the job. And do you feel, Andrew, that you know, when we talk about farmers, do you know that does include the people that are, you know, employed, you know, one way or another, sort of on farm, the staff, you know, sort of at the coalface, so to speak?
Very much so. And the one of the case studies we're looking at right now is with a herdswoman who's worked on several farms. The last farm she worked on, the employers were not very sympathetic or compassionate, and caused her a lot of problems. And people, quite often they leave the managers, they leave their employers rather than the farm itself. And so she moved on. And the family she's working for now, very, very different, very understanding, very supportive, and it makes all the difference. So absolutely, it's the relationship between the employer and the herdsperson or the employee makes all the difference. But you need to have that open communication and that understanding that we all understand that working on farms is challenging. It's long working hours. Right now they're going through the calving period. That's it's 24/7, and you have to understand what people are going through, what pressure that places on somebody.
Yeah.
And so with the example of of her sort of and yes, it is people change employer, not career, most likely. But is your case study sort of able to sort of illustrate her pathway sort of through that, where she sought the help that actually her the mechanisms that she used to make the changes that she needed, the organisations she went to, does it sort of highlight those?
Yeah, that particular story, you absolutely understand why she had problems in the first place.
Yeah.
You also understand why she didn't feel able to talk about them. If you don't have a sympathetic employer, then you're not going to open up to them, and that's a big challenge in itself. So yes, she did suffer for a long time on her own, and things got very bad for her, which is why she had to move on. She had a reset. She didn't get help from the people around her. She got professional help from a local charity, the DPJ Foundation, and they gave her a suite of counselling sessions, and that really helped her to put things into perspective and to find the right type of employment. So they helped her through that, and she still suffers. She's prone to depression, so she still suffers from that. That will never go away, but she now knows what will trigger the things that set her off. So just. She understands what triggers some of those problems, so she knows as soon as she says, I'm slipping into that mode, she knows what she needs to do about it. She knows who she needs to speak to, and she's on medication as well, so she knows when she's got to adjust. So she'll never be cured, but she will always understand what's going on, and she knows how to. She's managing it, and she knows how to get help, and she knows who to speak to. And that's the key.
And sometimes it's just about yourself understanding your own symptoms and being able to sort of react to them before things sort of progress any further, isn't it? And also seeing it perhaps in your sort of colleagues that you work with as well, and also knowing to sort of reach out to them and sort of talk to them, and doing what we're doing, walking, talking and having a cup of tea and stuff, just trying to sort of encourage people to sort of chat, because they're not going to be the only person that is feeling how they're sort of feeling.
Well, I think the thing is, when you work on a farm, as you know, a lot of time you are spending time working on your own for a lot of the time. So you won't always, things, we all know if you spend time on your own, things fester and they become a bigger problem than they really are. And as soon as you knock that about with other people, another person.
Sorry to interrupt, but if there's no one to talk to, that's when it really festers. When you're going over it yourself without out to anyone else, that's when it really festers.
It does, and sometimes it's not as literal as, and I think this is the thing when people say you've got to talk to somebody, it doesn't mean you have to say to them, look, I've got a mental health problem and I need to share it with you. It's not like that most of the time. It's something much more basic. I'm just finding it a real struggle today, or I've been on the farm all day, it's been raining, and the animals it's not going right. Another case study we've been involved with, the farmer said, actually, I forced myself to go to the pub every week. Personally, I don't never have to be forced to go to the pub. He said, I have to go to the pub just to be around people. It doesn't matter if you don't drink. I just need people. And they won't all be farmers, but it's just being with other people makes all the difference. He also goes to the farmer's market. Most of the time he's not trading, he's not buying or selling, but he's around other farmers. And it's just the knockabout conversation. It all makes a difference.
What was it inspired you to sort of start this work?
I think it was, we were making a lot of content, a lot of videos for large organisations like the Royal College of Psychiatrists, Public Health England, and that type of content was all about it's almost like sort of online counselling or therapy, which is very useful because people can access that remotely. But again, the problem was, how do you get people to sort of come forward and get that help in the first place? That's where I felt actually case studies, the type of content we're making was mostly animation and sort of interviews with professional experts, which has its place, but I know from learning and education that sort of having case studies with real people in real situations is what people will watch.
Relate to.
Relatable,
Well, you're more likely to watch a 5 or 10 minute video than you are a PowerPoint presentation or attend a lecture or something like that. And it's quite often it's the first point of contact. So if you are online, I spend a lot of time on YouTube. Sometimes there's a bit of a rabbit hole. You watch one, then you go to another. But actually, sort of watching case studies on YouTube is far more likely to resonate with somebody than actually searching for help physically. So there are lots of different ways that it can be effective and it can draw people in.
And so how do we sort of tie, the Galantium with LKL, George? How do we, make it, the accessibility and sort of get it out there and use this as our, bit of a, bit more of a sort of formal platform to our sort of care that we want to provide?
I think there's a bit of a misconception that LKL is a recruitment company that does a bit of retention. The opposite is true. LKL is a retention company that does a bit of recruitment. I know that you know this, James, but most of our regional managers supporting our staff on farm, 80-90% of their working day is retention and supporting people. The balance has been the bit of recruitment. So it's part of that retention and support package. I think it's being able to identify people, keep the communication flowing, identify people who might need a bit of extra help, and then be able to network the right people to help them when we see that happening. But I think it's just another plank in the support network that we have for our staff. And for example, if we have somebody working from Romania, we have someone on the staff who's a Romanian to support them, in addition to yourself.
Understands the culture,
their first language and culture, and understands some of the issues that people have if they work in a country that's not their home country. But it's just generally, it's part of bolstering, as far as I'm concerned, the support that we're able to provide to people. And we know from experience that long-term retention is about that support. And problems are going to happen, things will arise, that's inevitable, but it's dealing with them when they do happen and getting through that and coming out the other side.
And having as much as possible in place to ensure the well-being of the people who are on the front line.
Absolutely. It's a tough job. These guys are coping, and ladies are coping with big hours, with all that the climate's throwing at us, with all the milk price roller coaster, and they're not insulated from those pressures, and we need to help those people to deal with the realities of the industry we're in.
And so with the video case studies, will there be sort of links and other sort of guidance and pointers that people can go to from them?
Yeah, the videos will be, you're obviously going to share the videos with your health people. So the videos won't be there in isolation. So there'll be explainers with the videos. So each one will cover a different topic and a different type of farming. And with that, there'll be signposting to specialist services. So sometimes, again, the biggest message is always find somebody to talk to, share your problems, whoever that might be, whether professionally or personally. But sometimes there are conditions, especially, depression is a clinical condition. You certainly need professional help for that. Some of the other things, the things that affect farmers, like the weather, we all know, the seasons, financial worries for some people, all of those things, there are professional services that can help you and give you the right support. So we'd absolutely signpost to those as well.
And we're going to have a sort of a direct, on the website, a sort of a direct link, straight to that. I think make it really accessible on the website.
Mental health and wellness support hub. So it will be sort of clear on the website, and then also on our Facebook pages and things as well. And I gather that the video case studies are sort of being released sort of slowly.
We'll put some clips out on social media. Just to give people a bit of a taster of what's out there, and signpost where they can find and access that.
There'll be a constant drip feed, if you like, of content over the course of the year. The benefit of that means there's always something. There's a reason to come back and find something new, which is important. The other you mentioned, you talked about mental health. It's important to make clear that it's really about wellness. I think when people hear about mental health, it makes them think there's something wrong with me. We all have mental health. Right? We all have physical health, and it's we need to normalise the conversations around it and appreciate it's more about promoting better well-being, and that's the message to get across, really. So
and from our point, it's some providing welfare and care.
Because the region managers provide sort of direct support for contractors on farm, and presumably have these type of conversations.
Well, definitely,
how they're settled on farm and how things are going.
Definitely. I mean, I can remember when George interviewed me 25 years ago, when I was 15, and that he was worried that, quite rightly, that I knew enough about back to scans and cell counts and this sort of thing. And 25 years on, I'm thinking, when does the bit about the back to scan start? The people doing the job, they know what they're doing,
exactly,
and if it isn't happening, it's not because they don't know, it's because something's the matter, more than likely. So that is, that I think is a bit the point. You have to sort of, as a regional manager, I think, look often beyond the practical problem and why the practical problem is occurring.
And that comes down to something else that we will be covering in the video series, is knowing how to open the conversation in the first place and how to ask the right questions. And that will be particularly relevant for employers, knowing how to look after their staff.
Open questions that get somebody talking.
Absolutely. So it's not, do you think, the worst type of question would be, are you suffering from mental health problems at the moment? Completely shut somebody down.
Totally,
but if you said, have you found a struggle over the last few weeks when it's been nothing but rain and difficulty with working and long hours, and you have that conversation and just see how that affects somebody, and then you start to open up a conversation and people can offload, and as we all know, a problem shared is a problem halved, and that's been around since Victorian times, but it's true now as it was then.
Exactly.
It's also quite interesting as a in our job as a regional manager that sometimes you if you've just gone along to see someone, just a social call, you have to make that really sort of quite clear, because something might have happened on the farm, and they often can be worried that, like, the farmer's phoned up and said, look, this incident's occurred, and then all of a sudden, the Grim Reaper appears, so to speak. So you have to sort of to reassure people that you are visiting for their welfare, or in contact for their welfare, not because something has sort of happened in the background. So putting people at ease is really important, so that then they will talk. Otherwise, they can feel quite sort of guarded. That why have you appeared?
But you also need it's also about having that relationship with the people.
It is,
and there's a relationship and there's a trust. Building that is the key. And I think the people that do this job well build those relationships, have those trusts.
They know the family.
They know they know that they can speak confidentially. They know that they can deal with ups and downs of careers. And work through those issues that we all have that arise. And deal with them appropriately as they come along.
But you also have your place with LKL as people visiting farms that you're not there regularly, you're not there every day, and people quite often will speak to people they don't know that well, rather than, and sometimes the person we're saying, the employee should speak to employer, they may be the problem, and so it can be a good thing.
A third party sounding board is very valuable for different people concerned, and there are things that can be said to a third party that can't be said all the time necessarily direct, and it's an outlet, and it's an opportunity for people to get something off their chest and work it through and say, am I being unreasonable about this? And we might say, to be honest, I think on this occasion you are. And they sometimes all sides that are involved in the farm business need to hear that message to get the right balance. We all need it. We all need to be told at times, and a sounding board and a third party have got a lot to give.
But there are also times, George, when you know, someone will really sort of vent their frustration. At the end of it, they'll say, "Well, I feel better now." And they don't want you to do it. You know, they don't want you to take it any further. They're just happy
Just want to have literally a sounding
to
board,
let it all out. And you know, so don't say anything. That's all right. I feel better now. You know,
and get it off the chest. But at the same time, it's a process that needed to work through.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you.
Oh my goodness.
Thank you very much, Andrew, for coming out. We look forward to working with you and developing this relationship and having your expertise as a resource to the people on farm ultimately. And James and his colleagues in the regional management network, and indeed Michelle as our safety and welfare input from outside.
Well, it was Michelle's, you know, sort of introduction. Michelle sort of, you know, got this off the ground and introduced us, and it's excellent because I think it is a really refreshing sort of approach and format for agriculture to have that you sort of set up and introduced, and I think we're really pleased to be part of it. But you know, Michelle's done a lot of safety work, you know, with LKL, and I'm really pleased that it's something that she's been able to get us to take on board.
Well, I'm your technical support, aren't I, behind the scenes? But James is forefronting all the sort of training.
I like the practicality of it.
Exactly, which has the most sort of impact. And even just doing the training, you know, the fact that you managed to get all the sort of farming team on site all together for a training course, actually, that is a huge amount of sort of well-being sort of initiative, because quite often, like you say, everybody works in isolation, so it's a huge sort of social and learning activity as well, and an opportunity to sort of come together and sort of chat and
but there is a lot of willingness there, isn't there? Once you get actually with the willingness is there.
I think from Glantian's point of view, I've spoken to a lot of people to encourage support for this project, and I really appreciate the way that you've all embraced it and you really got behind it. A lot of people say the right thing, but they don't follow it through. You're absolutely leading from the front, and I haven't spoken to anybody else who's doing it as well as you are.
Brilliant. Well, that's very nice.
If anything in this video resonates with you and you would like to get further information and support and confidential help, please visit the Welfare and Wellbeing Hub on the LKL website, where you'll find links and contact details of a number of organisations who are specialists in this very area. And of course, you can always speak confidentially to your LKL regional manager.